Redcaps are one of those creatures you either know and love, or haven't heard of them before. If you were to see one for the first time, you might think, what's this little old man in his adorable red cap going to do?
I'm warning you.
What's he do? Nibble your bum?
He's got huge, sharp...
Ho ho ho, I wouldn't say that if I were you. There is a reason why their caps are always red. Hi everybody, I'm Brett, and this is The Fantasy Historian, a channel that uncovers the history behind our favorite fantasy elements, characters, and creatures across different media. I am also compiling a bestiary of all our favorite creatures across different IPs. As always, I like to start by giving a summary taken from the most relevant monster manual or compendium to get a picture on how the creature is used in fantasy. For the Redcap, I'll be using Mordekainen Presents Monsters of the Multiverse from Dungeons & Dragons. When we think of a Redcap, what do we imagine? Taking a look at the illustration in the book, we see a short, grumpy old man wearing the red cap, under which red, fiery eyes glare out. He has pointed ears like most Fey folk, with fangs and sharp talons on the end of each finger. A sickle is his weapon of choice, as well as some iron boots. Both the sickle and boots are interesting, as iron historically and lore-wise are the weakness of Fey folk. Looking over at the monster sheet, I skipped the specific stats in favor of abilities that can make a callback to history and understanding of what the creature can do. I will note, however, that it has a challenge rating, or danger level as I like to call it, of 3 out of 30. The Ministry of Magic classifies it as a 3 out of 5. It is a small Fey with an alignment or temperament of chaotic evil. It has dark vision and can speak Common and Sylvan. Taking a look at the traits, iron boots, the Redcap has disadvantage on dexterity stealth checks, outsized strength. While grappling, the Redcap is considered to be medium. Also, wielding a heavy weapon doesn't impose disadvantage on his attack. From this, we learn that iron boots give away their stealth, and they have great strength despite their size. Actions. Multi-attack. The Redcap makes 3 Wicked Sickle attacks. Wicked Sickle. Melee weapon attack, reach of 5 feet. Ironbound Pursuit. The Redcap moves up to its speed to a creature it can see and kicks with its iron boots. The target must succeed on a DC 14 dexterity saving throw, or take bludgeoning damage and be knocked prone. Moving on to the lore. Redcap. The Redcap is a homicidal Fey creature born of bloodlust. Redcaps, although small, have formidable strength, which they use to hunt and kill without hesitation or regret. In the Feywild, or where that plane touches the material world at a Fey crossing, if a sentient creature acts on an intense desire for bloodshed, 1 or more Redcaps might appear where the blood of a slain person soaks the ground. At first, new Redcaps look like tiny blood-stained mushrooms, just pushing their caps out of the soil. When moonlight shines on one of these caps, a creature that resembles a wizened and undersized gnome with a hunchback and a sinewy frame springs from the earth. The creature has a pointed leather cap, clothing of similar material, heavy iron boots, and a heavy bladed weapon. From the moment Redcaps awaken, they desire only murder and carnage, and they constantly seek to satisfy these cravings. Redcaps lack subtlety. They live for direct confrontation and the mayhem of mortal combat. Even if a Redcap wanted to be stealthy, the creature's iron boots force them to take ponderous, thunderous steps. As near potential prey though, they can close the distance quickly and get in a vicious swing of their weapon before the target can react. Redcaps' desire to slay is rooted in their will to survive. To sustain their unnatural existence, they must soak their hats in the fresh blood of their victims. When Redcaps are born, their hats are coated with wet blood, and they know that if the blood isn't replenished at least once every 3 days, they will vanish as if they had never been. Some Redcaps can sense the being whose murderous acts led to their birth. They typically use this innate connection to find their creator and make that creature their first victim, though they might instead seek out their maker to enjoy proximity to a kindred spirit. Although Redcaps don't usually operate in groups, an individual responsible for the creation of multiple Redcaps at the same site could attract the entire group to serve as cohorts, emulating that individual's murderous handiwork. Some hags and wicked mages know methods to call redcaps out of the Feywild, and might likewise put teams of them to work as grisly servants. In any case, if a redcap works with another being, the redcap demands to be paid in victims. A patron who tries to stifle a redcap's natural and necessary urge for blood risks becoming the redcap's next target. It's an interesting creature, isn't it? The bloody redcap, the old man appearance, the iron boots. It's time to take a dive into history to see how much of this creature is pulled from folklore, and to do that, we need to travel to the region where it all started. Scotland, here we come. The folklore of redcaps came from the border territory of Scotland and England between the 13th and 17th centuries. The border between England and Scotland was a bloody one. Central power had loose control over clans in the outer reaches of their territory. Clans constantly raided each other and fought over land. This was called reaving.
Help! Reavers! Girls pitching a fit, they're here, they're coming soon.
Get on the mule!
Because of the constant border reavers, small fortifications and castles were built for protection. As one can imagine, this created constant anxiety and fear for those living there. Possessions and land could be stolen, and more importantly, lives could be lost at a moment's notice. In this fear and anxiety, the folklore of redcaps was born. Unfortunately, a lot of the information of redcaps was passed down orally rather than written down, so I only have what I could find. In his book, Notes on the Folklore of the Northern Counties of England and the Borders by William Henderson, Henderson writes, and I quote, "Redcap, redcomb, or bloody cap is a sprite of another sort from the friendly brownie. He is cruel and malignant of mood and resides in spots which were once the scene of tyranny, such as border castles, towers, and peel houses. He is depicted as a short, thick-set old man, with long, prominent teeth, skinny fingers armed with talons like eagles, large eyes of a fiery red color, grisly hair streaming down his shoulders, iron boots, a pike staff in his left hand, and a red cap on his head. When benighted or shelterless travelers take refuge in his haunts, he flings huge stones at them. Nay, unless he is much maligned, he murders them outright and catches their blood in his cap. I tried looking into the reasons why they appear as old men in iron boots with a pike staff. I couldn't find any explanations. My guess is that it is similar to a revenant/ghost of soldiers past. Henderson does explain the red cap for which they are called. Red caps soak their caps in the blood of their victims, giving it the crimson color. Other references mention that a red cap will die if the blood ever dries up. This makes the need to kill not only a trait, but a necessity of survival. Add intelligence with incredible speed and strength, and you have one terrifying creature to face. Despite all this power, the redcap has a weakness. Henderson writes, quote, "This ill-conditioned goblin may, however, be driven away by repeating scripture words or holding up the cross. He will then yell dismally or vanish in a flame of fire, leaving behind him a large tooth on the spot where he was last seen." End quote. Quoting scripture or holding a cross is a common word in folklore. Anything that is seen as evil, corrupt, or unholy is destroyed by purity, holiness, and/or light. I couldn't find the reason behind another detail, the large tooth. The best I can come up with is a larger principle that is used universally in folklore, myth, and/or legend. A memento of some sort or a manifestation of what a creature represents is left behind upon its death. I am curious, though, as to what kind of price the Tooth Fairy will give me for it. The most famous redcap is Robin Redcap, or Redcap Sly. According to legend, this was a redcap familiar that was summoned by the evil sorcerer William de Soulis, who lived in Hermitage Castle. Robin Redcap granted de Soulis the ability to be unharmed by any weapon. Together, they wreaked havoc upon the land. Having enough of his cruelty, the people rebelled and boiled Disulis to death. There are different variations of the legend, but William Disulis did indeed live in Hermitage Castle. He is recorded to have been cruel and widely unpopular. He was imprisoned in Dumbarton Castle in 1320 AD for treason against the King of Scotland, Robert the Bruce, where he eventually died. If you want to learn more about William Disulis and Robin Redcap, I have some references listed in the description below. Not all stories of the Redcap are the same though. There is a tale of a Redcap residing in Perthshire that bestows blessings of good fortune on those who meet him. In Dutch folklore, Redcaps are called kaboutermannekins and are more similar to brownies in that they help around the house and light invisible fires that keep the house warm during the night. I would be terrified that my house would catch fire and I wouldn't be able to put it out because the flames are invisible. Fortunately, I didn't see any references to house fires. They also wear red from head to toe. Dunters and Prowries are also what are considered border spirits, or border sprites, and they make the sound of beating flax. If you ever hear them, it means misfortune is around the corner. Redcaps are a perfect example of a cautionary folktale. Those who lived on the border during these times knew full well the dangers of living on the edge. If not believed outright, Redcaps provided a reason for people and children to stay away from dangerous areas. One can never know when border reavers will come and end a life. There are other connections that can be made, but I think this is sufficient for us to bring this creature to life. It's time to imagine what this creature would be like in the fantasy world. The Monster Manual and Forgotten Realms from Dungeons & Dragons do a great job at incorporating history to produce the fantasy version of a Redcap. I'll be using them to flesh out the biology and ecology of our Redcap. According to folklore, Redcaps are roughly 4 feet or 1.2 meters tall. The Forgotten Realms adds that a Redcap weighs in around 50 pounds, 23 kilograms. A Redcap can live up to 150 years, though this can be cut short due to their murderous lifestyle. The depiction shown is very accurate to the description given by Henderson. A few small differences would be a sickle instead of a pike, which matches other versions of Redcap folklore, and it is carrying that sickle in its right hand instead of the left. There could be significance to the left hand holding the pike, as historically, left-handed people were believed to have the devil, an evil spirit, bad luck, or practice witchcraft. Sticking with the life cycle of a Redcap, we run into a problem. They are all old men.
There goes our last female.
Forgotten Realms provides 2 solutions for us. 1. Redcaps reproduce asexually through a process called budding. A hump grows on their back for 6 months and then falls off. Young reach adulthood in 1 year if they can survive until then. Or 2, Redcaps are born from bloodlust itself, rising from the blood spilt on the ground. This was also mentioned in the Monster Manual. Pathfinder adds a different solution, which is adding females. Quoting from the Pathfinder wiki, sourcing the Fae Revisited campaign setting, quote, Redcaps are believed to mate only after successful murders. Female Redcaps give birth to twins or triplets after 6 to 8 months. Siblings constantly fight for the respect of others and the attention of parents, and usually only 1 Redcap per birth survive to adulthood. Parents usually encourage this fight. Those that show weakness are cold. End quote. All 3 of these solutions are great ideas. Solution number 2 would be the closest to historical accuracy, if that is the goal. What about its diet? Despite Redcaps needing blood to soak their caps, there was no mention of them eating the victim or drinking blood. Once again, we look to Pathfinder and the Fortress of the Stone Giant's book. Here, Wolfgang Bauer states that Redcaps will drink blood and eat the marrow out of the bones, but stay away from anything else. Alright, there we go! Now let's see how redcaps interact with their surroundings. Relying heavily now on Forgotten Realms and Pathfinder with inspiration from folklore, redcaps inhabit old ruins of castles, areas of bloodshed, and sometimes dwell underground. Either lone wolves or in groups of odd numbers, as even numbers are cursed, redcaps will hunt anything in sight, including one another. I like the high intelligence taken from history and the Dragon magazine issued number 158, instead of what we read in the lore of the 5e Monster Manual. Sorry, Monster Manual. Redcaps will drop rocks on anyone who passes by, stealthily hunt adventurers in their campsites at night, and run down any wounded prey with a flying kick of the trusty old iron boots. There are very few prey that redcaps won't track down, but those that are considered too delicate, like dryads and nymphs, are left alone as they provide no thrill of the hunt. Redcaps can bond with clever and cruel creatures who share similar behaviors and personalities. Redcaps will also work as mercenaries for anyone who pays well for their grim work. Some evil wizards and hags have even learned how to summon them to do their bidding, sometimes forming a bond like the legend of William de Soulis. There's one more thing that needs to be mentioned. If a redcap soaks its cap in demon ichor, it becomes a madcap. Think of the redcap and add demonic fury to the list. I always like to end each video by brainstorming some ideas together. Redcaps can provide a lot of flavor to any story. While the history is a little light, redcaps make up for it in looks and personality. Sticking to the more historical side, redcaps can inhabit ruins to add danger to any setting that has players searching ruins. They can be hired mercenaries or a feared guild employed by an empire or forces of evil. Maybe they are even allied with vampires, since they have a common interest in blood. Perhaps instead of blood, another sustenance could be required, like wine, or in a comedic twist, jam. Maybe their hat color could change, and that would change their personality. Blue caps are another fey creature of folklore that were helpful to miners, leading them to gold veins or warning them of cave-ins. For more ideas, redcaps can be found in Magic the Gathering, Harry Potter, Final Fantasy, and Baldur's Gate 3, and much more, though there isn't a ton of lore there. I hope this video was fun and educational. Be creative and find ways to incorporate the redcap in your own work. Like and subscribe if you're inclined to do so, and I will see you all in the next one.